17 December 1989, parishioners gathered outside the Hungarian Reformed Church in Timișoara, Romania, to protect their minister, László Tokes, from being exiled by order of dictator Nicolae Ceausescu. Tokes had spoken out against the regime, and his supporters formed a human chain around his home. Soon, factory workers, students, and intellectuals joined, singing hymns and patriotic songs. What began as a defense of Tokes quickly escalated into a mass anti-regime protest that spread into the city center. On 17 December, the army opened fire on demonstrators, sparking 3 days of state-sponsored violence. Over the following 8 days, more than 100 protesters and bystanders were killed. The scars of those days remain visible in Timișoara's buildings, where stray bullets and hastily etched crosses still mark the events. By 20 December, tens of thousands filled Piazza Victoriei, demanding an end to Ceausescu's rule. In the fall of 2016, I came to Timișoara as a Fulbright scholar, where I taught classes in American Studies at the University of the West. I spent a lot of time at Vinyloteka, a record shop near the site where the revolution began in 1989. And it was there that I became friends with Emil Bibel, who was the owner of Vinyloteka and a key figure in the city's rock scene since the 1970s. The shop was a gathering place for Timișoara's rock and roll veterans, many of whom I came to know. As I learned about the revolution, I wondered, why did it begin in Timișoara? What made ordinary citizens here defy Ceausescu when other cities like Arad, Cluj, or Sibiu did not, at least not initially? Timișoara, near the Hungarian and Yugoslav borders, was distant from Bucharest's power. But revolutions don't just appear overnight. They build. People read. They talk. They whisper. And they imagine change until one day they act. 2025, again as a Fulbright scholar, I taught classes at the university, and I began a project looking into the nature of the Romanian Revolution and its beginnings in Timișoara. I had a lot of questions, and after living in Timișoara for 5 months, I left with some answers to those questions. But I didn't find them in history books, or museums, or journal articles. I found them in rock and roll. If I have an abiding faith in anything, it's in rock and roll, and the power of rock and roll to bring people together, to help us think about the world that we live in, and to imagine a better one. So this is a story about rock and roll. But it's more than that. It's a story about people who played and listened to rock and roll when it was dangerous to do so. So it's also a story about resistance. But then, any story about rock and roll should be about resistance to something. Otherwise, it's not really about rock and roll.
In the end of the 70s, in the early 80s, when Ceausescu get crazy, they do this in Timișoara.
Did you go to the PM6 meetings?
Of course. Yeah, so I think all of us did. So all of us who started to believe, because it was a creed, a belief at that time, we felt that we can be free somehow.
Everybody from Timișoara who listened to rock music and was interested in this Western culture was attending the PM6. In 67, 68, it was first edition of PM6 Club, and it was in a building in historical center of Timișoara, building which was then named Arus. It was the Association of Romanian Soviet Friendship, Arus. That club functioned, I don't know, maybe 4 years or so, and then it was interrupted in the 70s, And then in 81, we continued with the new PM6.
It's like this. First it started in Casa Tineretului already. I already tell you the Casa Tineretului, for us it's a legend place. It was every Thursday in Timișoara, two guys, Petru Umansky and Mimo Bradov, and was lectures. Petru Umansky lecture about, like you do in university, and people listen to him about Beatles, about Rolling Stones, about all the bands you can think of, and we listened to him. He was English teacher in some school, but
Where is he?
he's dead for many years. He was old when we were young.
You could, while watching and hearing Petrumansky, yeah, he was the guru, so to say.
The idea of Petru Umansky was to make a meeting like like club, but not club, where people to come and listen to music and to talk about history of rock and roll, of Western rock and roll, our rock and roll.
Giving them lectures, but also giving you some tools, to analyze, because tools related to, for instance, messages, and also speaking about the music, because you hear it, and from hearing to listening and to understanding, you sometimes need more.
And then there was this Markish, which was the organizer and administrator, and but he was also a music lover, and he likes music, and we are thankful for him, even if he was a guy from the regime.
I don't know, who's the guy?
Markish.
Markish, you know Markish.
Yeah, he was
I
He was
saw him,
behind the whole
knew
thing.
him.
He was the guy, right?
Yeah.
And he was superior.
and it looks like he had some connection.
I think they were trying to influence the young people, giving them a little bit of freedom, but still controlling what they get. So, I don't know. He was good in organizing.
How would we know?
Yeah.
You really-
I start think the punkers are against their fascists, because when they dance, they are with hands out, and they look what they wear, with the madness, how they look, the madness, with short pants, white socks and stuff like this. They come in when it's happened. This thing, it was a moment like a discotheque. Somebody put music and everybody, what we talk, what we dance, but was a time when Mimo put just punk music or new wave music. First time I hear the Stranglers, for the first time I heard the Sex Pistols and Madness and this kind of stuff. From the cassette he put the music. And the punkers from Timișoara, they wait for that moment, they come dressed well, like outside, skinners, ska boys, ska things, they come dressed like this and they start to dance. And everybody like this, they dance and we look at them, because we are hippies and they are punkers in that time. I wear a parka, you understand? Everybody in Timișoara who listen music had a parka. Without parka you are nothing.
I made some connections with these young people's punk music followers and the new electronic music with The Cure, Depeche Mode, and with Stranglers, and they, some of them, came to my house to exchange some cassettes, some music. They came with a cassette and said, "Oh, this is the music we appreciate the best." It was DAF, Deutsche Amerikanische Freiheit. It was a kind of electronic punk, dance music. And they gave me the cassette. I listened to them and they said, "Hey, you can put one song from here in the club. We will come with our friends and we are mad about that." This was I listened and I was aware. It was Tanz del Mussolini. came to me, hey, you put some Nazi music, some Mussolini, some. I said, no, look, this is my cassette, this is the playlist, because they gave me the cassette. It was fitted to beginning of the song until the end. The song ended, they danced like crazy. I took off the cassette from the player, I gave him the cassette, and I put my cassette there and continued the program with Madness, with Selector, and so. And Markish said, oh, but they say that it played. Look, I don't have any other cassette. And I gave him the cassette. He took the cassette and saw, what the hell? Somebody is crazy here. He knows, Markish knows that in the crowd were informers, were people who listened and told to Securitatea guys what was happening in the club. And informers which write.
He believes you are not the informers.
Because he didn't found anything. It was not.
Ask your papers, identity, why you are here at this hour. They were allowed to take you at the police station, revoluția, yeah.
But you still went.
Yeah.
I mean, with us it happened, if you weren't talking nice with them, so if you had the courage to backtalk, then they would take you.
Or being a girl during that time, they try to humiliate you, to make the things to look like you are a prostitute, that you walk at this hour on the streets in Tovarasha. Why are you here? Identity card, now. And they were even allowed to take you to have a medical examination.
I remember I was interestingly very shy at the beginning when I first went there, because it was somehow, entering a bigger world, but you didn't, or I didn't know exactly how to define it, but I have the very strong feeling that it was a bigger family. So it was somehow a family, because we would, resonate, thinking the same, and basically wanting the same. We knew, many of us, about the others.
Everybody wants to belong somewhere, to a group. And here in these groups were a sense of really, really closeness, even if you didn't know the other guy, you instantly felt comfortable with,
While emigres sent back music, clothes, and films, feeding a vibrant underground culture that was at odds with Ceausescu's repression. This culture had a geography of its own in the Elizabeth, Josephine, and student complex neighborhoods just across the Bega River from the city center. And at its heart was Piazza Maria, where the revolution began as poet Ion Monroe stopped the tram and urged passengers to join the protest protecting Pastor Laszlo Tokish. A revolutionary rock scene had been building in Timișoara since the 1960s. Phoenix, the city's most famous export, began with British invasion covers but shifted in the 1970s to a blend of folklore and progressive rock to outmaneuver the censors, confusing authorities who admired the folklore but feared the rock. Their defiance peaked after founding member Nicu Kovac emigrated from Romania and then returned to sneak some of the other members of the band out of the country, hidden in amplifiers. Pro Musica, founded in 1973, mixed styles and challenged the regime with prison and hospital concerts, later performing their anthem, Timișoara, from the Opera House balcony during the revolution. Cargo, formed in 1985, brought hard rock and sharp political anthems, with guitarist Tavi Pan penning the blistering Brigadier. Beneath these headliners was a network of underground bands, Autostop, Sector 3, Metamorph, playing in discos and factory clubs with scarce equipment and constant surveillance. Making music in Ceausescu's Romania meant risk for the artists, their friends, and their families. By the 1980s, Timișoara's rap culture was more than music. It was resistance. And when the revolution came in December of 1989, that spirit was already alive. There were plenty of bands in Timișoara in the early 1980s, and there were plenty of bands that expressed discontent with the regime. But in 1979, a group of teenagers came together to form a band that would become an underground legend in Timișoara's late communist era. That band was Metamorph, and while they never had official records or wide exposure, they became a voice for their city, writing songs that captured the reality, the humor, and the quiet rebellion of life under Ceausescu. On an autumn evening in 1985, the band took the stage at the Hungarian State Theater and delivered one of the most mythologized concerts of that era in Timișoara.
There was a concert at the Hungarian Theater in 1987 that
Yes.
people talked about.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Can you please tell me, Emil has told me about it, Lima has told me about it.
Yes,
Who was playing there?
yes,
Were you there
the,
too? Really?
no, it was too,
No, I was too small, too young.
Went on
you know.
there.
So that was Metamorph.
But that's already legendary, so he's the culprit here.
Yes, it was monumental.
And if you go in that concert, I was there, for sure, in that, if you are going inside and you look, you're going to say, nothing will remain. Somewhere in a very strange place, but nothing will remain.
What happened there? Why do people keep talking about that concert? What the experience, I guess?
Because I believe because all the bands they were more traditional rock bands, and we am forced we were the crazy kids on the block. It was something new with the arrival of new wave punk.
All this stuff was the ideas of Tali, the part. He's in that time. That's why I told you to listen music. Maybe if you listen to the music of Tali and say, oh, it's a mainstream, blah, 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 blah. But wasn't important that the lyrics were what he said in the lyrics, is what you understand from the lyrics, because the lyrics said that your life, for example, not like this, your life it's great, but actually your life is shitty, and you know that. And when he sings your life is great, you say,
well, it's hard to imagine in communism was dictator, what was in that time, and such a concept, you know?
Yeah.
But we make music, we are young and we want to play.
it's hard to explain, because they make things like happenings.
That it looked what it is. They saw that it was this kind of anarchy, and they went out. And they came some other groups of musicians
To take some people, yes.
But they didn't intervene.
Not inside.
Not inside.
And Tavi told me that the last song you played, the Blonde Alligator, the Lo 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 song, and that there was a curtain that opened up in the back, and there were people, like your friends were in the back, and they were all singing the Lo. Is that right? How did that go at the end?
I think it just happened.
It just happened, okay.
It just happened because there were so many at that concert, and I remember that we were so proud because we heard that people came from Berlin, from Germany, from Hungary, from abroad, you know, they came to see us.
And in the final, in the end of the concert, being on the theater stage, there were these cortinas.
Din spatele trupei, din spatele.
And in the
Și atunci
back,
erau pe podium toți prietenii noștri care cântau fără text, numai lo.
This background was getting up, and there were sitting, standing a lot of friends.
To the rock band and see our concert, you know. It was anti-regime, but not in that heavy manner, because I didn't like the system at all. I was not sympathizing with communists, and I couldn't sympathize with the country leadership who couldn't give us food to eat and gasoline to drive our cars. So I mean, and to have electricity in our homes, and we didn't have any heating in our houses during the winter. So I considered them nothing. I considered them bullshit.
What we made with music, with the lyrics,
I think it takes a little bit of, you know, unconsciousness, and in my opinion, and I totally agree with him, you gotta be a little bit crazy, but in the best and most beautiful way, because you have to dare to be brave enough to, you know, step over and dare to do something against. And against at that time was against the regime, against.
In Timișoara in the 1970s and the 1980s have anything to do with the political revolution that began there in 1989? Of course, there's no way of knowing for sure, but over the 5 months that I spent living in Timișoara, I asked a lot of different people their opinions about this question, and I got a lot of different answers.
It was very clear what happened there in front of that church, in that small street, because that evening, in 16th December, it was practically a group of rockers who started the riot. It was not a big riot.
Yeah.
It starts with rock and roll.
It starts with rock and roll. Yeah. I told you, these two guys, they stopped us. One poet and one drunk. I thought both of them were going together. No, the rockers were there. This is, in my opinion, in Timișoara, first 2 days was the rockers revolution, not the normal people. The normal people were all scared. You understand?
Being bohemians, being rockers, there was something in the evening to drink, some beers and so. And when they came with the tram, some of them said, "Hey, here is the Turkish situation. Let's get out and make some noise." And they get off the tram, and one of them, who was, as they say, pretty drunk, shout, let's block the trams to cannot get further. So all the trams that came after that, and from 50, 100 people, there were in a moment, in a few minutes, about 1,000 of people.
Right.